Hello again, baseball fans. My name's Mitch Gatzke. This is Ducks on the Pod Season 2. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you that today, Thursday, March 29th, 2018, is opening day across the major leagues. But I'll say it anyway. Today is opening day. I'll be at Comerica Park this afternoon to watch the woeful remains of my Tigers take on what's left of the pillaged Pirates. I hope you two are able to head down to the ballpark nearest you, or at least catch your favorite team's game today. All 30 of them are in action on this most glorious of days. Well, at least that was the plan until the Reds and Nationals had their game postponed. It would have been the first time since 1968 that every team in the league has been playing on opening day, and that's rather astounding, actually, when you think about it. So 2018 already off to an historic start. Ideally, you can make it to your team's opener and actually see it in person because it's so much more than a baseball game, isn't it? There's a distinct feeling on opening day. It's being able to, again, hear the noises you can only hear in a ballpark. That constant murmur of 1,000 conversations. The cries of vendors persuading you into a dog and a beer. That crisp crack of the bat on a well-hit ball and the distinct sound of everyone suddenly paying attention to see where it falls. It's the sun shining, God willing, because it's probably the first time in months you've stood outside for so long. It's a celebration signaling that winter is gone and summer is on the way. It's feeling renewed hope with each and every team being tied for first place in the standings. That intermingling of excitement and nerves. It's the sense that baseball, our game, America's pastime, is finally back from hibernation. And with it, we can get back to who we really are. Absolute fanatics for this sport and everything that surrounds it. Let's begin the 2018 season. Hey, Ham's back for season 2. That's great. You know, we had him on a one-year deal, and you can never be too sure what's going to happen in the free agent market these days. Speaking of, have you been following the hot stove happenings of the past offseason? If not, I want to make sure you at least know what a fool Scott Boras thinks we all are as fans. I wrote about it a couple months ago when Boras said Major League Baseball has a problem because so many teams are embracing the rebuilding process. His clients weren't signing the same massive, record-breaking deals we've become used to, and so Boras decided something had to be said. Front offices around the league are finally refusing to participate in bidding wars for players whose best days are behind them. And we should be proud of our teams for making decisions that are so financially prudent. But Boras thought he could convince us to come over to his side of the issue. He assumed we would fall for the same old tricks that fans have fallen for in the past. We've always demanded our teams win now, even when we can't logically convince ourselves that they have a legitimate chance at competing. Times have changed, though. We fans are getting smarter. We're finally beginning to understand that the core of a championship team needs to be built, not bought. Once you have your core of at least 4, then you can start to buy and trade, or essentially use prospects as currency instead of money, to go ahead and fill any gaps that might remain on the roster. You don't need to look far back to see this long-term strategy paying off. The last 2 World Series champs have been full of largely homegrown players, with recent additions augmenting the roster. You could even go back another year and include the Royals, too. That team fit the same mold, even if they couldn't sustain it. But you look at the way things are now, the Cubs are the favorites in the NL. The Astros are the favorites in the AL. The Yankees are loaded. The Phillies are getting there. The Twins have stockpiled a lot of young pieces. The Brewers' blossoming prospects are the reason they felt confident enough to make some aggressive moves in the offseason. The A's won't finish last in the West this year, I promise. Same with the Padres.
Everyone is doing it.
Just there, I've already given you one team in each division that's recently done it or looking like it's starting to come out of doing it. That's without even getting into the teams that have somewhat recently started doing it. The White Sox, the Tigers, the Braves, Marlins, and Reds. All of them are in various stages of a rebuild. That's 13 teams, and I still haven't gotten to the teams that should be rebuilding but are stubbornly holding out hope. The Orioles, Royals, Mets, Pirates, Giants. We're up to 18.
Everyone is doing it.
Then you look at the Rays, the Jays, the Angels, Mariners, Rangers, Cardinals, Diamondbacks, Rockies. They're all in a baseball purgatory. That place where you really hoping to make the playoffs rather than actually expecting to make the playoffs. And the 4 remaining teams are the Red Sox, the Indians, the Nationals, and the Dodgers. The Sox have unintentionally built a hell of a core with young players by finishing in last place in 2012, 2014, and 2015. They're obviously a very special case here, having won the World Series in 2013 in between all of that losing. The Indians didn't do it so blatantly, but from 2008 to 15, they won more than 85 games just once. I don't think that was on purpose. That's why it took them so long to get to this point. They've also benefited greatly from some not so highly regarded players turning out to be much better than anticipated. Then you look at the Nationals. They moved to Washington in 2005, and from then until 2011, they avoided a last place finish only twice. That's how they got Steven Strasburg and Bryce Harper.
So it's safe to say that everyone is doing it.
The Dodgers are the only real exception here. They haven't finished in the cellar of the NL West since 1992. The strategy their front office has put together, combined with the influx of money that they've had in recent years, that's what's brought the Dodgers to the top without having to subject themselves to life at the bottom. Baseball is clearly in an era that categorizes teams into 2 groups, the haves and the have-nots. There isn't much of a middle ground anymore. And if you try playing it like there is, you end up a member of the latter category. For further evidence, just see the 2017 Giants. So yeah, the tanking phenomenon has officially become en vogue.
Everyone is doing it.
And it probably will become a real issue that baseball has to address. But in the meantime, it's just the way things are. I'm excited to announce that 2018 will be the inaugural season of the Ducks on the Pod Fantasy Baseball League. I've recruited some of the best baseball minds I know to hopefully give me a run for my money at my own game this summer. It's a 12-team rotisserie or roto league. Basically, that means no head-to-head matchups and no playoffs. The leader at the end of the final day of the season is the champion. You earn points based on your ranking in each scoring category. If your team leads the league in that statistical category, you get 12 points for that. Second place gets 11, and so on and so on. I wanted to get more in-depth than your typical run-of-the-mill fantasy league, so I expanded the scoring a bit to include some of the peripheral stats that I like. So runs, average, home runs, batted in, and stolen bases, they're all still there. So are strikeouts, on-base percentage, and slugging percentage. For the pitchers, we've still got wins, ERA, whip, strikeouts, and saves. But I've also added blown saves, batting average against, and strikeouts per 9 with holds lumped in together with the saves into one category. I also wanted to get more players involved, so I expanded the rosters a little bit. We've got middle and corner infield spots, room for 5 in the outfield, 11 pitchers, and most diabolically, a second catcher. Now, drafting one backstop is hard enough, but finding 2 that are worth your while is near impossible. Defensive-minded catchers are most definitely cool again. So who are these 11 other owners? Well, you might remember my old college roommate Nate from that brain teaser he sent our way last year. Our Cubs correspondent Reed is an owner. Our Indians insider Evan is an owner. A couple friends from high school, Drew and Ant, are in on this. A couple friends from college, Ryan and Ethan, or Wooly as I might occasionally refer to him. Wooly's wife, Mila, has the distinction of being the only female owner, so ladies, we've got a team for you to root for as well. And the final three are friends of friends who've just become friends. Norm, Kirk, Seth, what's up, fellas? Kirk and Seth are leading members of the Cincinnati chapter of the Ducks on the Pod. We'd like to thank them for all the work they're doing to spread the word about us down there. Now, the one thing I noticed somehow, because I'm weird and I pay attention to stuff like this, look at how many of the league's owners have 4-letter names. It's remarkable. In alphabetical order: Anth, Drew, Evan, Kirk, Mila, Nate, Norm, Reed, Ryan, Seth. That's 10 out of 12. You know what that means, don't you? The 2 5-letter people, Ethan and I, we're bound to battle it out for first place. Or maybe last. This season, I'm going to have a twist on the power rankings articles that you see posted on every site about every sport. Everyone does power rankings, and everyone else complains how their team isn't high enough on the list. So, toward the beginning of each month this season, I'm going to release my contenders tiers. Some teams are serious contenders, some are fringe contenders, a few are hopeful contenders, and a lot more are non-contenders. The April tiers aren't quite ready yet, but I'll give you a sneak peek right now. Here are the serious contenders for a World Series championship as we enter the 2018 season. The Astros are the defending champs, of course. That lineup is still loaded. There's no sign that they're going to decline any of them. And in fact, they're actually stronger as a team than they were this time last year. The Dodgers, defending champs of the National League and nearly the World Series. They've still got the best starting pitcher and the best closer and a top 5 manager. It's hard to bet against the Dodgers. The Cubs had a down year and still managed to reach the NLCS for the 3rd year running. And now after some shrewd offseason moves, this is back to looking like the most talented roster in baseball. The Yankees are the most polarizing team in America, and now they're back to being a team to beat, and that is going to be very good for baseball. The Indians, I don't want anyone to forget that this is the team that rattled off 22 wins in a row last summer. They are still very capable, even if the competition around them has gotten better. The Nationals, it's now or never, isn't it? They've got a new manager because they had no other choice. They've already done just about everything else they can do. It's time to just get over that playoff hump already. And the Red Sox are the perceived runners-up to the Yankees now in the East, but if a couple of starting pitchers bounce back, they'll be able to go toe-to-toe with their rivals all summer long. Those are the serious contenders as it stands now, one from each division except the AL East, which has 2. This is going to be a fluid situation with changes month to month. Some teams might always look like world beaters, others might go through ups and downs. I'm going to keep track of it all by breaking all 30 teams into tiers every month, so stay tuned. Speaking of staying tuned, I got a lot of things that I'm working on right now for the show. Just want to keep you up to date with some of that stuff, so some programming notes here. I've got a lot of writing on the way for you. The first things that I want to talk about, the Ducks on the Pod 2018 preseason all-sophomore team. Basically what I did, I took all the guys who received votes for Rookie of the Year awards last year, started filling out a roster. Only guys who exceeded the rookie limits in 2017 were eligible, so Judge, Benintendi, guys like that are on there, even though they had a cup of coffee in 2016. But that's an attempt to give you a look at some of the guys who are entering their second full seasons in the big leagues. Then I have the Ducks on the Pod 2018 preseason all-rookie team. This one is a little bit tougher because nobody is totally sure who's going to get a shot at being a rookie in the majors this season. This time last year, Cody Bellinger was not yet on the Dodgers roster. Think about that. There are, of course, some no-brainers, like Ronald Acuna, Lewis Brinson, Scott Kingery now. But for the most part, I'm trying to predict the playing time of guys who haven't even debuted yet. So it's going to be a flawed list, and it's going to be fun to look back at it in September, see who I got wrong and who I got right on that one. On top of those, and on top of our favorite pitchers and our favorite hitters articles, which dropped earlier this week on sportshacks.com, go check those out. I've also got a little list of players, just guys to watch this season. Kind of my chance to shine the light on some of the guys who haven't been or won't be talked about much this year. I'm not quite sure when I'll finish that up, so be on the lookout in the next couple of weeks, I'd say. What else? Mock elections. That's right. Just like in high school. Best hair, most likely to succeed, class clown, all of that fun stuff, only I'm using Major League Baseball players instead of your high school graduating class. Definitely a less serious piece than I normally write. It's part of my mission to have a little more fun this summer because last year it was too serious. So this time around, more shenanigans, but still with the same top-notch analysis you've come to expect from us here on Ducks on the Pod. Next week's show, I'll have my full season preview. We'll go division by division, looking at the fun part, saying peace to someone or something. I'll introduce you to the new sheriffs in their new towns. There's a wild card or an X factor to each division, and I make comprehensive predictions naming each division's winner and the final standings from top to bottom. Now, I had a blast doing this last year. I got some good feedback on it, so we're giving it another go next week. Stay tuned to our social channels for details on when that will be available. I'm not going to try and keep a strict schedule this year. I tried releasing new episodes on the same day every week last year, and it just didn't work out so well. Instead of recording when I had something to say, I recorded because I had a schedule to keep up with, and it made the show feel more like a job than the passion project that it really is. I don't get paid for this. I do it because I love it.
Everyone is doing it.
Oh, stop. So yeah, this year is going to be a bit different. I don't know when I'll be recording and releasing new episodes. I'm going to shoot for one per week. Sometimes it'll be less. Sometimes it'll be more. The point is, it'll be based on what I have to say and not what the calendar says. All that said, I'll have the April tiers ready to go next week. Get your notepads ready for next week's season preview show. I'm also going to announce our April stops for the Ducks on the Pod 2018 tour. Every month this season, I'll be letting you know which games we'll be at so you can come meet us at the ballpark. Look out for the sophomore and rookie teams in the next couple of weeks. The other players to watch will follow soon after. Mock election results will be released at some point in April. In other words, there is a lot going on here at Ducks on the Pod to start the 2018 season. Needless to say, I'm excited. I know you are too. Oh, almost forgot to mention this, and I'm glad I didn't. We will be doing another batch of t-shirts this year, so if you got one last year and loved it or missed out last year and feel terribly about it, let me know. Get a hold of me. I need just your name and your size and I guess where to send it. But yeah, I need to start getting a head count on that because I will be making that order soon. In the meantime, enjoy opening day. Rejoice, baseball is back. Get ready for another great season. I'm Mitch Gatzke. I want to thank you for joining me on the show today. I really appreciate it. If you like what you've heard here, I'd really appreciate it if you'd take the time to subscribe to the show, rate it, review it. That stuff really helps attract new listeners, and I need your help to spread the word on this. That's going to do it for me this week. Until next time, baseball fans, remember, keep your glove on the dirt, your bat off your shoulder, and always keep your eye on the ball.
See you later. Adios!
See ya!
Be gone! Goodbye! Back, gone.